and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Atmansky, and I'm here today with
Justin DeClue
and Colin Cunningham.
And today was another day, another two great movies, right, guys?
filled with incest.
Oh my
God. That was the
God.
theme of the day, I guess.
I guess it was, wasn't it?
It was a slightly reoccurring theme.
Slightly.
It was incestuous.
Ugh.
What are the two movies we watched today, April?
Today we watched Ben and Arthur and Splatter Farm.
So Ben and Arthur being the third film in the Dudley Moore Arthur trilogy, right?
That's when it gets really good. It gets very homoerotic.
No, it's when he teams up with Michael Caine, I thought. 80s Michael Caine.
I thought it was Ben Affleck and Dudley Moore together at last.
Okay, Arthur, let's go.
What's Ben and Arthur?
So Ben and Arthur is a infamous bad movie. It is kind of known as the greatest bad gay movie of all time.
I had never heard about it before.
So I first heard about this movie actually about 5 years ago. I saw it on a YouTube show I watch by a guy named Rantasmo, and he reviews LGBT media and stuff like that. And I was like, that looks really funny, but that was before I was really seeking out and watching these movies. And so it was kind of in my mind for years. And then it started popping up on other bad movie shows more recently. Good Bad or Bad Bad did it, which is a show that me and Colin really enjoy a lot.
As opposed to Bad Good and Good Bad.
And then that other podcast, Bad 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 Bad.
That's right. Hey, well, it's a good show, but yeah. So I was like, I'm going to try and find this when we started this podcast, and I could not find it anywhere. It wasn't on YouTube. I the only thing I could find was like buy a DVD off Amazon for $20, and then I would have to pay shipping. So I was like, no, I'll get to it at some point.
No way am I supporting the director who made this movie.
That's too much. But then very, very recently, it showed up on a podcast we listened to called Sardonicast. And then we were recording this podcast, and I was like, I'm going to look for it again. Somebody uploaded it to YouTube. So
Thank God.
because it was mentioned on Sardonicast.
Piracy.
So I was finally able to watch this movie. It was like 8 years coming, and
No more like sleepless nights.
Yeah. It did not disappoint. That's all I can say.
And what is this movie about?
It is about a man who wants to get married to his boyfriend.
Seems simple.
He also has a brother who is an insane, devout Christian who is convinced that gay marriage is wrong.
He's also a gay porn star.
In real life.
Yes. Yeah.
Or possibly in the movie, who knows. So he goes to his church, he asks for advice, and he ends up taking violent measures.
This whole movie seems to be just sort of a series of escalations. Like,
Well,
things
yeah.
start out very simply.
Starts off right off the bat with just kind of like cheap digital look,
Yeah.
like people making their first movie. When it started, and I had read about it, that people were calling this like, oh, it's like The Gay Room.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm surprised I haven't heard about it before. And then when it started, it's like, shot on digital,
Yeah.
cheap. It was obviously done by the director whose name is...
Sam Mraovich.
And he's also the star of the film.
That's right. He wrote it. He directed it.
Looking like,
Starred in it.
as April said, Tobias Funke.
Kind of, yeah.
He kinda
Mixed
does.
with a little bit of Buster.
Well, I think he edited it. I think somebody else with the same last name, maybe his brother, helped him edit. And then he also did the music for it
And he
as well.
shot it. It's one of those movies that, like, if he's on camera, the camera's not moving and it's just static because, he's in control of
He's
this.
doing everything.
He's a perfectionist.
It has a real home movie feel to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts off very, very happy. Like, it starts off with them hearing him, Ben and Arthur, hearing that gay marriage is legal in Hawaii. And then they're like, we're going to Hawaii.
Gonna get married.
Let's go. Dun,
Yeah, song starts.
It's awesome.
Let's
Everyone's
go.
happy.
And there's a packing montage, and then they are brought down to reality almost instantly when they realize that didn't go through for some reason.
And it has that classic bad movie thing where, like, he's like, look at the newspaper. And he,
Yeah.
like, shuffles the newspaper. And he's like, it says here that the marriage law is illegal in Hawaii. The marriage law is now illegal. in Hawaii and like the repetition of
he goes
lines.
into so many details,
He
and he
reads
keeps
out
reading. It's
a
like,
big,
you know,
long article.
the judge has suspended his ruling or whatever like that, but it may not be illegal again there for another couple of years.
Yeah, and then they
So-
try and go to Vermont, but it turns out the marriage won't be legal in LA.
But Arthur
and-
is really annoyed because the tickets to Hawaii are non-refundable. They've already paid for them.
It's a big plot point.
Yeah.
Non-refundable.
He says it a few times.
And
too.
considering like the college kind of like apartment that they live in, where
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
bare except for a leather couch, and I assume probably like an ashtray filled with like doobies and stuff like that.
I can't believe this is what 2002. And
Yes.
I feel like I keep saying this every episode when I see these movies. You tell me when they were made. This looks like it was mid 90s.
You forget how bad 2002 looked.
Oh, it looked bad.
When
But
you
just
were in it.
2002 looked like a photocopy of the 90s.
But it was just
Yeah.
like even the
Left
TV,
out in the sun.
the TV, the answering machine, the puffy leather couch.
At one point, one of the characters shows up and he's wearing like a giant yellow shirt with his hat backwards.
really oversized clothes and
Yeah, that was
jeans
odd
and-
because he's a balding man, so he looks, I think, a lot older. I'm talking about Arthur.
Yeah, the director and star and editor and composer and cameraman.
Steve Mraovich. So he looks a lot older, I think, than he is. So he looked like he was trying to look like a teenager wearing those baggy shorts.
That was very accusatory. You're like, he's a balding man.
balding
Sorry.
man.
Sorry.
I mean, he does wear shorts and sandals.
Sandals with socks constantly. And
Throughout the
Yeah.
movie.
there were multiple scenes of him running, lengthy scenes of him running in this movie,
And you just hear like,
very slowly, and you can they would always like show the wide, and he's wearing socks, and you cannot run in sandals.
So wait, what is your favorite part of this movie, Colin? What did you like about it?
Jeez, I hadn't even thought about that.
let's do me.
April.
Okay, all right.
My absolute favorite part of this movie is the acting. It has some of the best bad movie acting I think I've ever seen.
Woo, big claim.
Because it's like you have the monotone, like I'm reading my lines, and then people will just start yelling. And so it's the two extremes. It's very, very low energy and then ridiculous high energy. It's laughable.
And they stand so close to each other when they
do.
talk.
I don't know if that's like an onboard mic thing.
Yeah,
If
like they want to be as close to the camera as
They only had the
possible.
mic on the camera.
I was
yeah.
just thinking like they couldn't frame it any different because they didn't have room in the apartment, or it was just like, let's just have them standing at 5 inches
Like
away from each
someone
other.
will enter the apartment, somebody will be sitting on the couch and they'll be like, "Hey, I discovered this," and then it'll cut to them like right in front of each other's faces.
you never see people actually getting up and moving over this. So they,
Yeah,
they
but-
kind of gives them the appearance of
It's like a
teleporting.
Bertolucci film. They cut out people leaving and entering.
I think
Godardian.
I think that probably the actor that played Ben was a real actor, as he's quote unquote actor.
Well, you said that it's him on the cover. I don't know about it because the cover
That's
is
him.
like a Harlequin romance
Yeah.
novel.
Yeah, it looks like a
guy with his
Fabio.
shirt off.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like
telling
they
you, that's
photoshopped his
Ben.
face over Fabio's head or something.
And there's like a guy
that.
in the background with a gun, and we were looking at it as the movie was starting, and we're like, "What is this?" And April's like, "Hold on,
Yeah, there
buckle
weren't
up."
there weren't any guns at
Until
that point.
suddenly everybody had guns.
It just seems like such a normal movie at the beginning, and you're like, okay, this is just about two guys that want to get married, and they're going from place to place trying to get married. And then the brother character comes in, and holy shit.
He's very religious, and he doesn't want his gay brother to get married. So the first step that gets taught this, it accelerates very quickly.
Murder.
Murder. He kills their lawyer / secretary friend.
Yeah. So they get married in Vermont. They have a friend in California who's a lawyer who's trying to help them get a California marriage license, blah, blah, blah.
And he brutally murders her in her car.
with just
in her car,
really
yeah.
inappropriate dance music playing.
yeah, the music in this movie was pretty funny. I'm not sure if that was Steve Mraovich, but if it was, well done, I would say.
My favorite part is that, like, I like a movie that you watch and you go, wow, you can make a feature film in just like iMovie or Windows Movie Maker with only 2 audio tracks.
And one apartment.
Because,
Yeah.
whoa.
Well,
Not
look at
only
the-
just one apartment.
Look at Impossible Horror. We did that with one apartment.
But I was going to say that they build sets in this movie as well.
Wow, okay.
And like the lack of multiple audio tracks also leads to like mistakes where suddenly there'll be no audio and it'll just be silent. And those are like moments of zen, of contemplation watching this.
Yeah.
Where you're like, think about what's going on.
It lasts like 5 seconds.
It's almost like Birdemic, where the audio on the camera was so noisy. It was like anytime somebody talks, and then they fade it out immediately. So it's just like hello.
And I mean, I don't want to steal this from Colin, but I also love the one set they built in this movie.
Oh my God.
Which is that they got a church set. And how would you guys explain this? Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure style?
No, it looks like the set of a grade school play.
Yeah, so you get two pieces of
fake
what's that
marble
really
wall.
thin like ply.
It's not even wood because you can see
Oh,
the stuff
it's
stuck
like
onto
Bristol
it.
board.
I know, but there's a name for that. I forget. But anyway, it's like plastic with like a little piece of foam in the middle.
Oh,
and
foam core.
Foam core. That's it. So it's
not
like they
even.
painted
That's
that.
giving them way too much credit.
They didn't paint it. They like plastered it on. There's
Yeah.
like fake bricks.
It's clearly, they show the exterior of the church and one of the characters going into it, and then they cut to it looks like one of the rooms in the apartment that they've just stuck the stuff on the walls.
Yeah, they made
to make it look like
they
a
made like a
church.
cartoon stained glass window
It is so
and put it
funny.
over the window
They painted, yeah.
and cartoon Jesus.
And
the cartoon Jesus.
it's so good. It's so good.
And there's like a poorly drawn cross, which is made of two pieces of cardboard, which again, they didn't measure it. They didn't get a ruler.
There's no rulers to anything. So first of all, the window is all lopsided and wobbly. And then the
Every
picture-
time they cut in this two-dimensional space, there's something new to discover. Like the priest even has like a fake.
he's got a cardboard cross.
They couldn't buy a rosary.
But it looks like an ankh. It's so badly shaped.
It does. It's got like a tapered edge.
And then they cut to the close-up of a painting of Jesus.
They keep cutting to that painting
And
too.
it looks like a character from South Park. Like it looks like Jesus from
The South Park
Park.
Jesus. Is it like in Samurai Cop where they keep cutting to the lion head on the wall?
Well, that's just sort of
Well, it's
always...
like, why? Why do they do that?
Well, it's a church. It's Jesus. He's
but
judging
it's
the
clearly
characters.
a cartoon drawn by a child.
Yeah.
I can tell you why they keep going back to the church, which shocked me. Like, I thought it was going to be like a one location kind of thing.
Yeah.
We go back a dozen times because they wanted their money's worth.
Yeah.
I
Those
guess.
foam core boards.
Clearly.
They do not come cheap.
They paid those kids like 60 cents. They told them, if you have this done in an hour, you can go to the store and buy some candy.
So the priest lives there, or he worships there.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's
he's
funny
a
because his
terrible
desk,
actor.
his office, whatever.
Yes.
It's just like this fold up table.
Yeah, and he has like a thing of pencils on it, and every time they gesture, it moves. It's like
the
shaking.
table's very wobbly,
and
then
the
he's
two
sitting,
kitchen chairs they're on.
He's sitting on a fold up chair, and then
Yeah.
he has like a yellow like toolbox just
Oh,
lying
yeah,
on the
what
table.
was with the toolbox?
They
It's
probably
probably
use it
what
to
they
build-
It was there in case like the tape started coming off.
Which it does in some shots. You see in the background, it's like peeling off.
And there's also like a plant with some, I think, Christmas lights in it.
It's about emotion, guys,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
about realism. Did you
Oh
ever
my
hear about
God.
expressionism? Dr. Caligari, anybody?
They do, yeah. Well, they cut to that
Yeah.
low angle of the priest, and then the wobbly cross is casting a shadow.
It's true. It was
onto
just
the
like in
thing.
Man of Steel
Sure,
with
yeah.
Superman,
Yeah.
and Jesus was in the
I
background.
say
That's right.
expressionism, Dr. Caligari. You go with Zack Snyder's Man of Steel.
All right, well.
Yeah, sure.
It's the modern equivalent, right? But yeah, the plot like ramps up so ridiculously. So speaking of this church, our villain, who's the brother of Arthur, he goes there to ask for advice, and he points him to another guy who is, I guess, in his church friend, and he gives him a potion that is supposed to cure Arthur
Of his
of
gayness.
his inclinations.
Yeah, it's holy water. And we're like, ooh, how is he going to make his brother drink this?
Yeah, drink it.
He's like, you have to make him drink it.
So
It'll cure him of his demons.
He puts it in a squirt bottle and tapes it to his door.
yeah, it's
and
like
then-
in a very lengthy scene of him trying to get the tape off the roll.
And then
too.
Arthur is like, "Oh, Ben, look at what my brother taped to my door. It's some potion. There's no note. There's nothing.
Yeah,
So
there's no
how
way.
would he know?
It looks like it looks like a banaka or something.
Yeah.
Or
He just assumed, I guess.
And then it's never mentioned again.
no, he says, "I'm going to throw it out in the garbage now," and
Yeah,
that's it.
It's Chekhov's potion.
And
We're
then
like,
the-
when's it coming back?
And then the brother phones, to see if the potion worked. He phones him up and then goes to their answering machine, as you had answering machines
Yeah.
back in the day. And then it says, "Thank you for calling Ben and Arthur. We still love one another very much." And the brother's like, "Damn it, the potion didn't work."
So what was your favorite part, Colin?
I've got to say, well, other than like the escalation, the church scenes were amazing, but just how crazy this movie gets, and it kind of builds to this a gunfight. Like a movie that starts out with these two gay guys wanting to get married, ends in a shootout in Arthur's living room.
Well, they obviously like bought a gun because for the first half it keeps showing up again and again.
Yeah, there was that other scene with Ben's ex-wife.
Yeah, who's
also
crazy.
comes in brandishing a gun.
And she
Same gun.
She is insane, by the way.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Because she's like, "You're not gay. You married me."
Yeah, I'll be gay too.
And later she says that then I'll be gay too, and then we can get married again.
And then they just kind of like roll around on the ground.
Yeah, and I think he just leaves.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then she's never mentioned
She takes
again.
the gun. He wants her to sign the divorce papers.
Yeah, which apparently he does. As she
I
was back
guess.
saying, "Marry me again."
Very-
It happened.
it's
It
very
happened
weird.
off screen.
So that's one gun. So that's two people have the same gun, and then
They must have broken it or lost
And then
it.
at one point, the brother shows up with another gun, and it looks like it looked like a Flash Gordon ray gun that they had painted black.
And that looks
Yeah.
exactly what it is because it even has the circle trigger that you have on like those,
like the little reticle or whatever
Yeah,
they call
exactly.
it.
We got a closer look at it later, and it's clearly just painted black.
like,
Yeah.
They couldn't even get like a cap gun or something like that. They had to go with like the ray gun. Maybe this film takes place in the future. We don't know.
It's possible. Maybe the brother came from the future.
He's like a Terminator of some kind.
Yeah.
Then later there are two guns, like at the very end.
Yeah,
so I guess
there's a
they-
shootout in Arthur's apartment.
Well, yeah, there's like cushion guns. There's guns everywhere.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is America.
it's like
They reach in like
he
under
finds
just
a gun,
lying
he
around.
just reaches into the couch cushions and gets a gun.
Yeah.
gun.
And I mean, like, how does this film end? It ends with the evil religious brother who's like, we didn't even mention he got kicked out of his church just because his brother's gay.
yeah.
So then he has even more motivation to end his brother's gay marriage, but he decides to end.
Ends by murder.
He ends Ben.
But we didn't even mention that Ben, or is it Arthur?
Arthur's the balding man.
Okay, so Arthur actually kills the priest.
Oh my
and
God,
lights him
yeah.
on fire.
And you're okay at this point.
Speaking of the
You're going
escalation.
okay. This brother is unhinged. He's crazy. My God, he's killed somebody.
It runs in the family.
Then Arthur
Yeah.
goes to
Arthur's
visit the
crazy
priest, chloroforms him,
Yes.
And then-
well, nail polishes him.
runs
Yeah.
back to his car in a very lengthy scene again. Gets a
We
jug,
see him go back and forth to his car 4 times, I think.
trying to
Yeah.
run in sandals,
Sandals
very
slapping the
awkwardly.
cement.
Douses him in gasoline and then sets him on fire. So there you go.
And then he goes home to realize that his brother, I can't remember his brother's name, but he killed Ben.
Yeah, no, not Ben.
But then Ben took out a life insurance policy on himself.
It doesn't even matter.
They did mention that earlier, but that doesn't matter because the brother didn't know about this. So I don't know how he brings it up later. And he's like, we get money now. But then
We get $1 million. He's
That-
like, and then he baptizes him by
Yeah.
like stripping him naked
So
and like
this is
putting him in a bathtub.
the beginning of the weird sexual incest stuff is he makes him strip down and get into the bathtub and baptizes him. And then
Chloroforms him again.
yeah,
Leaves him on his bed.
Nail polishes him.
and then Arthur pulls the Scarface sister from Scarface.
Like, it's the exact lines
Oh
from
yeah,
It
Scarface.
basically is.
And he's
like,
even
"Is
dressed the
this what you
same. He's got
want?"
the sort of open white shirt.
It was
Yeah.
clearly
He's
an
like, "Don't you
homage.
wanna
Yeah.
fuck me?"
Yeah, he's like, is this what you
Homage.
want? And then the brother's like, no, please stop. He's horrified. And then what happens?
They shoot
They
each
shoot
other.
each other?
Yeah.
Like
Oh, right.
a lot.
There's
like
Simultaneously.
30 times.
That's right.
yeah,
That's
there's
right.
a lot of gunshots.
And just like any great movie, it cuts the credits right after.
Oh yeah,
Directed
I remember
by
he
Steve
was-
Mraovich.
He was lying on the ground, and you were like, "Oh, I hope it ends right now." And then it just cuts to credits immediately. Like, yeah,
Cuts to credits. It is an hour and a half long, and it is way too long.
It's
At one
endless.
point, at one point,
Well,
yeah, you
when-
paused it, and you're like, "Oh my god, there's 33 minutes."
Black
left.
Devil Doll syndrome.
Yeah,
We need to stop pausing movies.
Well, there's like the editing scheme of this film. Like when it started, there was like a 5 years later card. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, or like 5 hours later or something like that. And then there's tons of fades, but then there'll be like shot cuts. Like someone will open a door in a giant wide, and then it'll cut to a dead on of a car coming
Yeah.
toward the camera.
It looks
and I'm
like a car.
wait, is the car coming towards them?
yeah, it's
or-
really weird. It's like shots in the same scene will fade to black, and then shots between
Yeah.
scenes will just do a hard cut.
And then
It's very-
sometimes they cut to a title card.
It's like life, man. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, he really clearly had a vision, and it is kind of like, I feel like his heart was in the right place.
Yeah, I mean the message. Well,
It's like it's a
melodrama.
It's a tragedy, and it is melodrama.
Shakespearean.
And remember, like in 2002, gay marriage was a long way from being legal.
Yes.
And so this was an important story to tell. It was just told in a
just
very
totally-
hilarious
I think that
way.
like because it's so
Insane.
innocuous at the beginning.
Yeah, and
and the
you're
way it
like,
like
okay,
accelerates.
okay.
Yeah, I remember when he quits his job and he has the scene with Mildred, and he's like, "I'm not giving you your sugar," and she's like, "I'm gonna tell your boss on you. That'll show him." And then he just leaves, and
He's
he's,
just like, "Bye, ha, ha."
I'm quitting.
Ah, good
all
comedy.
It was all like happy and fun. He tries out at a nightclub where the guy's like, "Take out your penis."
No, he says, "I'm gonna dance. Can I have some music?" And he's like, "We don't use music for rehearsals."
Because that would probably cost money.
Yeah, so then the
He does a
star just
ridiculous
dances to silence for like 30 seconds.
And he's
again,
in front of a wall
Speaking
with
of
streamers.
speaking of sets,
Yeah.
this nightclub is clearly again maybe they just flipped the cardboard from the church set.
It's one wall.
And it just has one sad little disco ball kind of hanging from the ceiling, and he has to
And
dance
like,
to no
not
music.
even hanging from the ceiling, like hanging head, like
Yeah,
head
it's like you would
level,
walk
yeah.
into it.
So he does a ridiculous dance, and then the guy's like,
Kicks him out.
"Show me
Show me
your
your
dick,"
penis.
and then
Oh
he
man!
leaves.
Speaking of showing your dick, that's a great transition into Splatter Farm.
Oh, God.
So Splatter Farm
Splatter
is a
Farm.
movie that I've been threatening Colin and April
You keep
with.
waving this every time you come over here. You always pull it out of your like backpack.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go easier on you guys, and then I'll like pull something like a little bit more
Mainstream?
Mainstream. But this time, I
like
was
Black
like,
Devil Doll from
all
Hell.
right, we're gonna watch it. This is a Polonia Brothers film. They're like a famous twin brother directing, starring, producing, writing, everything team.
Double threat.
They started when they were 17 years old. They've been directing since then. They're still directing films to this day. I think they make movies like Empire of the Apes and stuff like that.
Well, like one of them is still directing.
Yeah, one of them is. Unfortunately, one of them passed away a few years ago. And they make 5 movies a year now. But this was their first film. And they're 17 years old. And you can tell that they're like,
My
we
God.
want to make this as shocking as possible.
I can't believe this was their first movie.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
pretty-
like production wise,
I can't believe
yes,
it wasn't their last.
but like, what it is ambitious to say the least.
where do you go from here after
Yeah,
all this stuff?
That's what I'm
So
saying.
the plot of the movie is these two brothers, these two teen stashed Lotharios.
These mustaches.
Yeah.
Okay, now these are the mustaches that like every one of my Italian friends had in high school. It's just like that wispy, barely there mustache.
Just
That
every one of my friends had it. And
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
I can
Really?
get into the 17-year-old
Yeah.
rated R movie. I'll be fine.
It's looked like they drew the outline of a mustache, but it wasn't filled in. It's like
Yeah.
they didn't have the bristles to fill the mustache.
and they're always constantly admiring it in the mirror, like,
And they're, like, looking at it in the
stroking
mirror,
it.
stroking
Yeah,
it.
coming in nicely.
And these two brothers are going to visit their aunt Lacey.
It's never
But-
really said until much later.
Yeah,
that it's their
and
aunt,
I mean, we're just going to reference her as their grandmother
because she looks
because she looks like their
She looks
grandmother.
like
Yeah.
a grandma, and they mentioned they're going there on vacation. But earlier we see the son of Lacey in
Jeremy.
the farm doing what is he doing?
Unspeakable
Yeah,
things.
Well,
he's-
the movie opens
he's
with-
killing a
he's
body.
dismembering
Yeah.
a body, and
Oh,
then
he's not just dismembering.
he's hacking it to pieces.
And then he takes the hand and he's like, I'm going to give myself a little pleasure.
this is this character is so disgusting.
he puts the hand in his pants,
gives himself a hand
job.
job.
Mwah, mwah.
which you can't do because the hand doesn't have any.
Grip.
Yeah.
Like April's like, I know. When you take that hand.
Believe me.
But they cut to it, and it was like a rubber hand, like it was like a rubber glove.
And
But
so-
anyway, that's not the point.
Jeremy, semantics. April's like, realism. I don't buy it.
The idea is.
So it's rigor mortis. It like froze in the exact shape of his penis.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus
Exactly.
God.
And so these two brothers, these again teen stashed heartthrobs, are at their aunt's house. I guess they're just spending the summer. Like that's the implication.
They say
They
that
say
they're on
vacation.
vacation.
I guess they want to hang out with the fattest ponies in the world.
It's the
Yeah.
these two ponies are oh my god.
Actually, there was a skinny one
The
and a fat
rotund.
one. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that by comparison, that
yeah,
one.
I don't want to fat shame or anything like that. I'm sure he's a great pony.
it was so fat that its legs were shrinking into its body. It
Its
was like-
legs were tiny in comparison to
It's
its
like a little little munchkin
plump
pony.
body.
It was pretty
Yes.
cute.
And so these brothers are hanging out with their grandma. But the thing is, there's not just the grandma's son, who's a psychotic Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy. There's also the grandma, who is, man, it must be mating season. 'Cause she is in heat.
She is horny.
She's very lonely.
She keeps saying that she's very
I'm
lonely.
so lonely.
And she keeps licking her
Oh,
lips
there's
and
always these
close-ups.
gross close-ups of her
And like
licking
putting her hand on what are their names? Because there's one
Mark
the twins.
is one of them, and
Was it Alan?
It's
or-
Joseph and Alan.
Alan, yeah.
Because Joseph
Joseph
is
and
the
Alan.
asshole guy. Joseph is
Yeah.
wearing a Niagara Falls
Canada.
Canada shirt.
And it's like a 3/4 length.
and he's the
like
one who's like, I gotta take a shit.
that was one of my
he's,
favorites. I
he's a
laughed
little
so
more
hard.
crude than his
Are we
brother.
there yet? And he's like,
And-
oh, we're gonna get there soon. Good, because I gotta take a shit.
Hard cut to them arriving.
Shut the fuck up. And Alan is the one that wears a magenta suit the entire time.
Oh, it's like this big,
It's
huge
like
shirt.
it's like a magenta shirt over a mauve shirt, so it's like double purplish pink.
and they do not change out of these outfits for
those
the
are-
rest of the movie.
Those are their superhero outfits.
It's their costumes.
Their
This is
costumes.
the Superman.
Yeah,
When they
totally.
shave the mustache off.
No, it's like you take the shirt off. It's like, oh my
They
god,
lose their powers.
Who is it? Well, they are twins, so I guess they have to.
Do you think does the surviving Polonia brothers still have that mustache?
No.
I wonder if it's like
he
it's
does,
it's their trademark.
he does have a mustache.
Oh, does he
But I
really?
think it's grown in. I don't
Yeah,
think it's like all
finally,
teeth.
after all these years, it's grown in.
It's like almost handlebar that they were going for that didn't
It's
quite
long,
fill in.
And they're like very thin and like
Emaciated.
They
Yeah, they have
look
that.
like the nerd that would be picked on.
They have that kind of
in
like
the
sunken
80s.
chest,
Yeah.
like you
They're
know,
very
skinny.
very skinny and kind of short.
What was your favorite part, April?
Well, I would just say like the things in this movie were very very memorable. I wasn't really expecting much at the beginning.
Warning. We're about to get gross.
It goes really far.
It's not just like the things in the movie, but it was how they were done. Like they don't just have characters being killed. They're like disgusting like corpses and like blood like gushing onto people's faces, and they just go so far with
Nothing is implied.
They call it Splatter Farm for a reason.
It's flattery.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like one small example is they have like one
Small example.
they have one skeleton that's like it's like an emaciated and it's all like goopy. And they reuse this a couple times, which is later revealed that this is the grandma's husband or her brother.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
what a
Oh, wait, that's right.
But
Skeleton
yeah.
reaction shot.
That is the best.
So earlier in the movie, I think one of the brothers finds this in the shed, and like there's this like gross like worm spider thing that like crawls out of his eye.
Oh, man.
And it looked really gross.
There's so many gross things. I saw you were going to mention when the grandma reaches into his pants and pulls his dick out
yeah,
and it turns
no.
to dust.
no, she goes.
Oh,
"I'm
I forgot.
so-"
Same skeleton.
They have a scene where the grandma is talking to her deceased husband's corpse and says, "I'm so lonely." and
so lonely.
reaches into his a lot of reaching into pants. in this
There's
movie.
so
tons
much.
of crotch grabs.
And this character, what's his name? Jeremy.
Jeremy?
Jesus,
Yeah, that's the crazy son.
the things he does in this movie.
And I mean, we say Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he just looks like a 18-year-old male model, but he's like this like crazy. He's like blonde, you know. I'm just saying he's not like a freak.
That's
like
what
he's
April,
a normal looking
April's
guy.
Like, yeah, that sunken in chest. I like.
He's a normal looking guy. He's,
hayseed
just,
look.
like, he's got a hayseed look for
Yeah.
sure.
What was your favorite part, Colin? I mean, you have so many notes.
okay, I have a lot of notes.
We should almost go through like the highlights
The main
of this
scenes.
movie.
Well, I was gonna say like the memorable thing. I didn't even mention
Yeah.
like.
Well, first of all, there
the
was
really
one scene. I
memorable
went to the
things.
bathroom and I came out and I could hear you guys yelling like, you're missing Colin. And
That
I
seems
came.
to happen every time you go to a bathroom.
I know.
During
I
any movie we watch.
I came back in the room and you were showing me. I think I forget which character, but one of the brothers is having a nightmare, and he's having nightmare of.
I think it's Joseph.
Yeah,
He's
It
on.
is,
He's
yeah.
on the
It's
toilet.
crude-
Foreshadowing.
and it's not the. We didn't know it was a nightmare at first, so we
Uh-huh.
weren't sure what was happening.
And it goes on, and he's just on the toilet taking a poop or whatever and straining,
Yeah.
and then blood starts gushing out of his mouth and his
Not just
eyes-
his
No,
mouth,
it's
his
coming out of his
anus.
He's
dick.
out of his dick and
or
his,
possibly his
ass,
anus.
and
Yeah.
his blood is spraying all over and running down this like toilet, and then he,
And then like a knife falls out of his ass
he
and
poops
lands
out
on the
a
toilet.
knife, and then you're like, okay,
and
this
you're
is,
like, oh, the scene's done.
this is a nightmare, and it's done, and
no,
then
no, he gets up and he pulls his underwear up
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, and it's like he's still shitting his pants and like
It's like
blood.
coming out of everywhere,
It
and
just
they filled this actor's underpants with bloody guts.
Yep,
So he's
pretty
like
much.
squeezing his underpants, and there's just like blood coming out everywhere. I mean, just the sheer visual alone is not something you're one to forget.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. And it goes on and on and on, and then finally he wakes up. And
I
then
like how we didn't give a chance to April or you to actually say something you like. You're just like, this movie's crazy.
I don't know if you could like anything, but one thing. Okay, but you go about it. We'll talk
I mean,
about other
I
stuff.
love the film's bravery of Joseph Polonia.
Oh my God.
Or actually, I'm not sure which one he is. Just laying it all out when he gets buried alive.
Yeah.
Just buck naked.
That is amazing.
he
and-
shows his dick.
Yep, that's right. And then you see it get buried.
This is like Joe Pesci getting buried in Casino,
But it's actually a real person.
and it holds on it for a long time.
Did they really get an animatronic Joe Pesci?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
There's a
Kane
scene of his-
VFX built them.
There's a scene of his like head kind of coughing as they're throwing the dirt on his
Wow.
face.
Well,
and stuff.
I mean, that's why we're watching this. I was like, he really got in there, and he's under. Like,
He's like holding his breath for a really long time.
yeah, seemingly for, a couple minutes, it looked like.
Really,
when they were
he's
shooting it.
Pennsylvania's Jackie Chan, doing all his own stunts.
Yes, that's right. But speaking of bravery, we didn't mention the most memorable scene in the movie, which happens right before this character gets buried alive.
Oh, God almighty.
Justin?
Yeah. So, there's all these hints of like
Is it ode-
grandma's getting a little horny.
A little frisky.
Wait, am I missing a different scene?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
wait,
actually
there's
talking
two
about two
scenes.
different scenes, but
Okay,
they must
okay.
be
There's
discussed.
the grandma scene, and then there's
they
the-
must be discussed.
So
Yeah.
the grandmother poisons one of the brothers. He's like, oh, and the one who feels sympathetic towards her.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we can't do anything. We can't leave because she'll feel bad. And then he's like,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm so lonely.
She makes tea, and then
Yeah,
we see her.
poisons him.
She puts in like a little date rape drug or something.
And okay, so the next scene, like, I don't want to make light of sexual assault because that's what happens. But the context of it being a 17-year-old boy shooting this with the implication that it's a much older woman assaulting him, and the way that it's shot, which is just
Is really funny.
a stack of blankets just moving up and down vigorously.
way faster than she could ever move,
Yeah.
by the way.
And then
Yeah.
it cuts to just her head, obviously against a pillow, like
pillow.
moving back and forth.
And she's like laughing, they're like, "Grandma, can you just move your head back and forth a couple times? I swear it's not what you think it is."
Now, we looked to see if this was their grandmother.
Oh, God.
And it's
Wouldn't that
somebody
just-
else's name. I feel like it is.
It's just
like
that would be
someone-
that would
She's
be
not
the
an
icing.
actor, although for a non-actor,
She's
the
dedicated.
performance is actually pretty funny.
It's funny
like
in that kind
later, where she's doing lines and stuff. Most of the movie, she's just saying, "I'm so lonely."
of like yeah,
and
funny,
like rubbing legs and rubbing.
funny in that kind of like
She plays footsies with her nephew.
funny in that kind of like John Waters.
Yeah, that's
right,
exactly
that's
what
right.
it feels like.
Where it's just like, oh, this is a real person, not an actor. You know what I mean?
having to do all this
And
stuff.
it's just like, how do you?
I wonder if they fake Shemter a lot, like the foot stuff and the hand stuff, or it
wouldn't-
was actually her.
I wondered about the foot stuff because I
wonder
was like,
how much
that
she was
doesn't have to be
aware
her
of.
foot.
She's like licking her lips, and she's
Yeah, but you
like,
could just
I'm
say-
so lonely.
Yeah, you just say, oh, like I said, dinner's ready. Like, lick your lips, like you're hungry or something.
But during
They're like master directors.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
during her parlor scene, she's like,
Parlor scene?
I was raped. Your father was my brother.
Oh,
Yeah, okay,
it's-
so she knows what's going on. She's like sitting beside a corpse, and she's like, bury him.
Yeah.
So she was aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
And then, during that scene, the corpse is sitting at the breakfast table.
Wait, I forgot what your favorite part, like before the guy gets buried. Oh,
it's
yeah.
the What do you mean? What? This is like the
So-
craziest scene in the movie.
in
How could you forget
an
this?
ode to deliverance, I
Oh my
guess.
God.
Jeremy he ties up one of our poor Polonia brothers to like a rack in the shed, and he sexually assaults him
With his fist,
Yeah.
and
then
oh
he,
no, doesn't he give him oral sex too?
he does.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
My God.
And
Yeah.
just remember, this is made by like 17-year-olds shot on video.
I know. I
Yeah.
can't believe they went there.
And
Yeah.
then like,
You know?
and you say that, but then he takes the fist out and it's covered in fecal matter.
Like, nothing
he
is-
licks it, and
Oh,
then he
God.
rubs it in the face of the brother.
It's gross.
That's what I was
Like I
saying.
said, it's way worse than Caligula. Like, it's just so gross.
But like the scatological element is something that like 17-year-old boys would, I guess, think was funny. Wasn't there like a fart joke at one point?
Yeah, he's like.
But this was like
Yeah.
he's like screaming in pain while off screen. Like you don't actually see anything.
I don't
goes
know
in.
if it's like.
He gets fisted.
I don't know if it's just because they were ignorant that it was going to get out, but it is still kind of crazy that they would do these things and go that far.
it's pretty disturbing.
Because like I couldn't do that when I was 17.
No,
like, I'd be
I-
like, "Ooh, I don't want to be naked on camera."
But and also like yes, this is poorly shot on video, but
it's okay for these movies.
It's pretty good as far as like you know what is going on and the
It's moving. I was never bored.
Yeah.
I would say like
No
the,
slow motion.
Obviously, like the
Sledgehammer.
quality of the video is degraded.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I don't know what copy this is, but yeah,
This is
it's
original.
not
But
too
as far
bad.
as framing, it's it's
it's not too
energetic
bad.
enough. There's some fun angles and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
They did what they could with what they had, but yes,
yeah,
it
there's
is
some audio issues, obviously.
It's
but
moving, and there was no lack of like gore props.
Oh, yeah,
they just kept
splattery.
piling it on and on. And
Yeah,
on.
it's
Because I've seen some of the later day Polonia films, and those ones do suffer more from like feeling really cheap and rushed, and it
Okay.
doesn't have those kind of like in your face like, oh my god, this is so crazy, because they've obviously like moved beyond that, and that's not what they're
Right.
interested in anymore. Like
Yeah.
they made one called like what is it called? It's like a piranha ripoff, and all the like the all the fish footage is shot like obviously in like an above ground pool that they're just like underneath, and they're like, we're in a lake and we're being attacked by fish, and then it cuts to like the blue line thing. I mean, the problem with like these kind of shot on video movies is that digital is an eyesore, and it still is at this point. And we haven't, I don't know, reached the point where there's like a nostalgia even for like early 2000s digital effects.
What
Yeah.
you mean, like Ben and Arthur?
Yeah, like Ben and Arthur still looks like an eyesore to us.
it kind of, I mean, that's what
It
I
does.
said to you during this movie. I'm like, this actually kind of looks better than Ben and Arthur in a way.
Yeah, because I think it's just like the textures. I don't know if it's because we're gotten used to it or there's something nostalgic about that.
Or maybe it was just so degraded, whereas like Ben and Arthur kind of has that cheap feel, but everything is crisp and detailed
Yeah.
because it's digital. Like,
And it's
1080.
like, in Ben and Arthur, they didn't set their color balance correct because
Oh,
it looks
yeah.
like Ben and Arthur are hellish demons.
They're,
they're
all
completely red.
and then the
but the
reverse
outdoor
shot.
background is perfectly color balanced.
clear, yeah. I remember the day that a teacher actually told me that he saw one of the first shorts I did, and he was like, "Oh, that's orange because you didn't set the white balance correctly."
Yeah.
and I was like, "I don't know what that is. Can you explain it to me?"
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone knows.
Nope.
You know?
And I remember it was a shot in a toilet, in a tub, shooting up, and someone must have been murdered Splatter Farm style.
Right.
I don't even remember what I was shooting. To have those
It's
mini
probably
DV tapes again.
just some home movie.
Yeah, nothing. I would just record over the same tape over and over and over again.
I've got some high 8 tapes downstairs.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you shoot like miniature movies or?
No, I'd like it was probably, I think I was doing like
I would shoot my sexual adventures.
yeah,
What-
on
what-
high 8s, only the highest resolution.
What was High 8 shot on? Like a big camcorder?
No,
it was,
little tapes.
Well, it was a kind of
pre mini DV.
I mean, it was about the size of a DSLR camera, but the
Oh,
tapes
okay.
were very small. They were
Yeah.
like kind of audio tape size.
And then it went to mini DV after that. And so it was like VHS, high 8, and then mini DV, and then digital, and SD cards.
yeah, so this was about 91.
Thanks for tuning in to Tech Corner. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as a bad camera.
I think you can actually send it. I think like Kodak is doing something now where
No, Super 8. They're doing.
it's not Super 8. So if you have old formats
Okay.
like Beta,
Yeah.
VHS, or whatever lying around, you mail them into them, and
Yeah.
they'll give you a digital copy of it.
This episode is brought to you by Kodak. Visit www.kodak.com.
Please sponsor us.
Blue Apron.
But going back to Splatter Farm, there's also a great shot towards the end where they're having a discussion with the skeleton, and they zoom into the skeleton to have a reaction
Yeah,
shot.
essentially what happens is
Has a reaction
the grandma
shot.
goes, I never loved your father because he's my brother.
And Jeremy's like, what?
The kid goes, what? And then he turns toward the skeleton. There's like a zoom into the skeleton. And the skeleton's like, oh.
It looks like this skeleton has a surprise reaction, like, oh.
That made us laugh so much.
It's
All right, Colin.
great.
Now,
I've been setting this up for you to say what your favorite part is because we didn't talk about the end.
Okay.
2 moments at the end that like filled us with joy.
There are two. It was first one, and you're like, okay, if that was it, that would be my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah, what is that first thing?
Okay, the first one is the last remaining brother. He realizes his brother's been murdered, so he approaches Jeremy. Jeremy shoots him.
Oh, he doesn't just shoot him.
He shoots him. He shoots him in the head with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always that moment. I think we've kind of talked about
It's like a
moments.
Tom Savini style like head explosion,
It's
right?
that
Yes.
2-frame. You cut to the actor, cut to the person who's shooting, and then cut back to the head just before it explodes, and
Yeah.
it's clearly a dummy.
Yes.
But this was not quite a dummy.
And they didn't quite have enough time. So we should point out, actually, and I mean, we're bearing the lead, we watched the original release version of Splatter Farm. So this is the version that existed until 2000. It was released in 1987. And in 2007, when it came to DVD by Camp Motion Pictures, the Polonium brothers said that the version that was available was a rough cut that was released without their permission. Basically, the distributor said, oh, no, this is good enough. We'll release it, which supposedly happened to a lot of shot-on-video
Right.
guys. And so they went back and they re-edited the film and they re-released it on DVD. That's the version that if you buy a DVD, you can find. If you buy the new release that just came out or you track down the 87 VHS tape, you will see their original vision. And that version
That's what we saw.
is obviously edited from VCR to VCR.
Right, because there's lots of like you can see the play.
Yeah, you can see the play.
and, like, pause.
Every cut has half a second of silence before the sound kicks back in.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's probably why that head, what does it look like?
It's amazing. It is.
It looks like a Michael Myers mask.
No, it's basically it's
the
almost
foam
like
heads you buy at Value Village.
it's like a hairdresser's
exactly.
mannequin head.
and they put a wig on it.
that is styrofoam that has a wig on it, and they hadn't even bothered to make up the face or paint in any
No,
eyes or anything. It is
it's
just stark
nothing.
white.
I've done that. It's in some of my short films.
That's
that head.
great. But you want to see those eyes, though.
Yeah, oh
That's
man,
what- you know what I mean?
have you not seen the Blur short I did for a David Cronenberg thing?
No.
Peter Kaplowski, a friend of ours, heads explodes, and the dummy head didn't explode properly, so the back explodes, but the face is normal. So you just see someone painted the dummy to look like Peter, so it's like pink with glasses, and the head doesn't explode. I just kept it in the short.
I love that.
We will link it in the show page. if
There's
you want to look at it.
nothing funnier to me than those like 5 frames before the head explodes. And
It's
this is
pretty
amazing.
hilarious.
So
But
that
that's
was
not
great.
even the highlight.
That was great. And then,
And then after so many men in this movie are having their crotches grabbed at, we get Grandma Crotch.
Jeremy, basically grandma reveals that, no, your father actually raped me, and then I had you.
Yeah, I never wanted you.
And this
but I'm
dead
so
body,
lonely.
this isn't your father, that's my brother. So I guess she was like having sex with her brother. And then
Zoom into the skeleton face.
so then Jeremy sort of like gets up and he intimidates her, and he sort of like walks her out into this field, but he grabs something. We didn't know what the hell it was.
We're like, it's like a cocking gun
it looks
wrapped
like
in tinfoil.
it looks like a tube of cock.
And I instantly went, I really hope it's dynamite.
It didn't. What if it
didn't
just
look-
said TNT on it? That would have helped.
So then they go out into the middle of this field, and then he jabs it in her crotch, and then
Yep.
Violently.
and then lights it. So you realize, it's like a big rocket firework.
And we're sitting there, and that match is going down,
Oh,
and me and
man,
Colin are
explodes.
like, please let there be a dummy that explodes. Please let there be a dummy that explodes.
Oh, let me
And
tell
it
you a
does.
tale. There is a dummy. So she's standing in the middle of the field, by the way. They cut to the dummy. They cut to.
Yeah.
First of all, is like, I don't know, 50 pounds heavier than she is. It's sitting on a wooden bench. With
I
like
think
a
it was
shrub.
like a log.
Yeah, it's like up against a bunch of logs. Probably because they couldn't get it to stand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like practically lying down.
It's like, these big wooden logs with like big shrubbery or something
Yeah.
behind it.
We've never seen this before in the movie.
Man, and it blows up like crazy.
It'll like
big
it
explosion.
disintegrates the way that it explodes.
Oh, you clapped so hard.
My hands are
You said your hands
still
are-
from clapping.
we saw it and we clapped.
Oh, it was great. That's fantastic. I always love things like that.
And then it ends with Jeremy shirtless, running around in a field.
Yeah, he's dancing in a field.
Leatherface style.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like
so I
praying to the sun.
I think that had to have been their sort of inspiration, was like the kind of Texas
Texas
Chainsaw
Chainsaw,
Massacre, where it's like this really gross family, with the dead family member sitting at the kitchen table.
Except Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't actually have much on-screen violence, and this one has.
This one does.
Yeah, I mean, I really commend them for like going all out.
Oh man, they did.
They went all out.
Fearless is right.
Yeah, they killed that chunky pony.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
Not for real.
Jeremy
not for real.
murdered a pony. No, of course not.
You just see a reaction shot of him being like, "Woo!"
And then he's like clearly just hitting like a piece of wood off the screen or something.
Yeah, it was really odd. So where can people find these movies? We mentioned before about Splatter Farm. It is available on a DVD VHS combo.
And you're going to want to get that VHS because it's not just a novelty. It actually has the original version of the movie on it, which is unavailable anywhere else.
But do you need to have a VHS player?
Yeah, you would have to need a VHS because even the double disc DVD set, which I got foolishly, and it didn't come with the VHS.
Or if you don't have a VHS player, you can mail it into Kodak, and they will send you a digital copy.
Sure.
Oh man! And then the police will knock down your door.
This
and
episode,
they'll be like, "What is this?"
Hey, we just admitted that we watched Ben and Arthur on YouTube, for Christ's sake.
That's
no,
right.
no, not for piracy, for other reasons.
Oh.
Violence.
But yeah, I mean, if you can only find the edited version of Splatter Farm, I would still recommend it.
I haven't seen it, so I don't. But people still liked it when they saw it.
Yeah, you're missing. You probably won't see a lot of the crazy things that we are mentioning in this review.
I think it cut the fisting out. And it re-edited it a little bit.
Probably
and some of the
the
nudity as well.
The dick shot.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned, Ben and Arthur is on YouTube. Get it before it gets taken down.
Or buy it.
Or just buy it.
You
God,
just,
Ben,
you just spend that $25.
Maybe.
I
did
Get it before the
really-
director
okay.
legitimately takes it down.
I did really well. Here's the weird thing, guys. That video that Rantasmo did and Good Bad and Bad Bad are no longer on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it got pulled.
Yeah, but they're just showing clips of it, and it's not even the whole movie. So Sam,
so if you're listening to this podcast, buckle in, save it, because
it's too late.
So Sam Mraovich might be very litigious, but I just find that very strange and a little conspiracy.
Okay, we have to
theory.
remove every part where we discuss that we watched it on YouTube.
Well, as I'm saying, it's probably going to get taken down.
Just like this podcast.
So I'll upload it on my channel.
which is
Red Letter
perfectly
Media.
This is going to get us all into
which
a lot of
is
trouble.
perfectly within Mr. Mraovich's rights. But
Just buy a copy.
Buy it on YouTube.
I know, but
Jesus Christ.
okay, I'm just saying it's not like he is selling this personal copy. There's like 3 copies on Amazon. It's like $60 and maybe $40. One used for $20. So that's it. There's one out there.
Okay.
It's not like this is like go to his
not
website
anymore, because
and
Colin's
get
going to go on there and buy it, right,
Man,
Colin?
why? I can watch it on YouTube for free.
So absolutely check that out, and don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes, guys.
Yeah.
You guys specifically.
This episode sponsored by Kodak.
Kodak.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the director again?
Sam Mraovich.
We love you, Sam.
Mraovich. Really liked your movie. Looking forward to
It's just
the
not,
other one that
not
you
enough
did.
to pay for it.
He did a movie called Hollywood something. Can't remember what it's called, but it looks really funny.
I think it's Hollywood Homicide, which
that's
with
right.
Harrison Ford.
He directed Hollywood and Josh Hutcherson.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hutcherson, the guy from Hunger Games.
Games of Detention. Great
Yeah, that's
movie.
right.
If you want to write into this podcast, our email is nossuchthingasabadmovie@gmail.com. And if you want to send us recommendations or questions, you can write us there. And you can tweet at me. I'm at April Atmansky on Twitter. I also have Instagram.
I'm on Twitter at DeCloux, DECLOUX, and then the letter J. I'm also on Letterboxd at Justin DeCloux. I also have a podcast called The Important Cinema Club. Listen to it and become a Patreon subscriber.
Wait, you have another podcast?
I know, I have another podcast.
What?
And I'm a patron, so it's a very good podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say you were a patron?
I'm a patron.
I am a patron.
Yeah, she's a winner and she gets to do a podcast with me.
Yeah, that's what happens if you,
That's what happens.
if you donate
Become
enough.
a Patreon subscriber. Maybe it could happen to you too.
No, it's like you pick the patron and then they have to do they have to do an episode with
Sign
you.
the contract.
You didn't read the patron.
The user agreement. Okay.
And you can find me on Twitter, Sergeant Zima, SGTZIMA.
And that's it for this week. Yay! And remember, everybody, there's no such thing as a bad movie.